Come along while I make Comfrey and Calendula salve today. I've been working for several weeks at drying and infusing oils for Comfrey and Calendula. This first one I'm doing is a Comfrey salve. So I started by infusing a good quality organic olive oil with my dried Comfrey. The Comfrey and Calendula both came out of my garden. So I have my double boiler heating up on the stove, and now I'm straining my oil. I got almost exactly a cup. Now I'm gonna add a cup of beeswax to my double boiler, getting that down. Now when I strained it, I still had a little bit of Comfrey that went through, and instead of straining it again, I just decided to use it with a little bit of the Comfrey leaf still in it. Not that big of a deal. It's great stuff, very healing. So I had no problem leaving those little bits in there. Getting my beeswax melted down. As you can see, it melts really, really quickly. I'm gonna add my oil. And of course, the room temperature oil hitting the beeswax causes the beeswax to clot back up a little bit, but again, it melts super quickly. Gotta do the smell test. I did decide to put some essential oil in this for scent. This blend has lavender, eucalyptus, and basil in it. All very soothing scents with more healing properties to them. I didn't measure it out, obviously, but I put probably approximately 40 drops in there. Got my amber jars ready to go. Have to do another sniff test, of course. Wanted to go slow, make sure I got just the right amount in there. I'm dealing with oil and wax, which can be really messy, so I just went nice and slow. These jars came with a nice little plastic seal for the insides of the lid, so if I decided to ever give these as gifts or anything, that would be a nice touch. Moving on to the Calendula salve, my recipe and ratios were a little different for this one. I used half a cup of the organic beeswax and half a cup of coconut oil. I'm going to be using this on my face in particular, so I wanted something that was going to be a little lighter and easier to spread, which is also why I infused the calendula in a good quality organic almond oil instead of a olive oil or something heavier. I ended up getting a little bit more out of this than I had expected. I got almost exactly a cup and a half. But again, I wanted this to be a little bit lighter and easier to spread, particularly because I'm going to be putting it like on my face. So I decided not to add more wax and just leave it as is, and it's set up really nicely. It's a good consistency this time. Added that in before my beeswax was even 100% melted, but it all melted together very nicely. I decided not to add any essential oil scents to this one. Just as a side note, if anyone was wondering, all of that leftover Comfrey and Calendula that was dried and infused just went into the compost, so it will eventually add right back into the garden for next year's crop. Now I ended up with quite a bit more salve and no more amber jars to fill, so into mason jars it went. Now the other funny little thing that happened was I ended up with more calendula and Comfrey salve that I had nowhere to put. So I put them both back in the double boiler together and just made a small little container that I don't even have a lid for. I'll probably keep it in the fridge of kind of a mixed one. Now I went to go test this to see how it was setting up, and I got a little bit on my finger and I needed to figure out what to do. Just so happens I had the perfect candidate to try it. Celeste had slammed her finger in the car door the day before. It was very swollen, very bruised. The nail was even coming away from the skin a tiny bit because it was so blood blistered underneath it. So I put this on her, and within probably 30 seconds of her going and sitting down on the couch, she was telling me how it was already feeling better. I checked on it a while later. The swelling had gone down. So it was a great little test straight off. Now, of course, I had some cute labels somewhere that I could not find. And lest I forget what was what, I decided just to cut up some regular little labels that I had and stick those on there so I didn't get them messed up. And here we are with probably close to a year's worth of Comfrey and Calendula salve.